All right, everyone, we are here with a good one and the last off-season war before season 32. Today I am taking in Mr. Negative Shang-Chi and War Machine. He is my most recent rank 3 champion. I'm going to be taking Path 6 in Section 1 and Path 8 in Section 2. And I didn't plan on it, but I have actually ended up taking 2 mini bosses on Boss Island, and the boss did not plan on that. Anyways, Path 6 here, first node, taking Gladiator Hulk with Shang-Chi, really focusing on getting this slow debuff placed, and now that it's placed, we're not going to worry about unstoppable armor. The only thing we are going to be concerned about, 2 things, Shang-Chi's rotation of placing slow and then stunning, and then making sure that we don't go through the stun wushu or try to heavy while he's stunned when the global is about to proc. So in most cases with this global, you're going to be dealing with champions that don't have their own personal armor up buffs like Gladiator Hulk here, and you're really going to want to pay attention to that timer there, because the way you're going to get caught off guard or even maybe die is throwing a special attack that's not unblockable, or just straight up attacking while that armor up is about to proc. So we've done a decent job here. And there at the end, I knew I was going to finish it with the SP2, so we didn't worry about the next armor up. So pretty easy, pretty smooth fight. Shang-Chi might increase in value this season with that slow. Mojo here, I actually wanted to take him, but didn't get to him first, and we tried an Immortal Abomination, wasn't my idea. And as you can see, it didn't work. So here, now you guys saw me take Chavez on Ebb and Flow Intercept last war and the massive damage from the SP3. But this node here with Ebb and Flow Knockdown, I assumed it would not be an issue just dropping SP2 as long as Ebb and Flow was up when I throw SP2. And the logic behind that was to see if the degen damage would be reduced from the node. Because the end or the last hit of the SP2 will in fact remove the Ebb and Flow knockdown, and then all the degen damage will have pretty much their full duration until the protection comes back up. However, there wasn't enough health to see what the damage was on the degen, so I have no idea if it was max potential. But obviously if it's capped or reduced, probably be best to build the SP3 there instead of the SP2. Moving on, I had hoped to take some middle mini bosses, didn't happen. So taking this Yellowjacket here with Shang-Chi as well. Yellowjacket, not really that great of a defender anymore without high ground, so I can actually slow play this entire fight and not worry about the high ground charges building up. So here, my focus was to go unblockable, to place the cleanse in case I end up with a blocked hit, to shrug the disorient, and then to place the slow just for the added chi while I was unblockable, and then wait for window of opportunity to switch for me to stun, throw the stun wushu or parry, and then heavy reset. And basically do all of that leading up to SP2. Obviously the big no-no here is do not throw the stun wushu while window of opportunity is up. So we just really pay attention to that timer and that timer only. We can avoid taking blocked hits the entire fight. And then when we get to SP2, the fight is pretty much over, as you see here. Granted, he has suicides, but still. All right, Sorcerer Supreme on this first node at Path 8, Section 2. Taking it with Mr. Negative, no APB. Trying to really save those and build them up for the season. Anyways, usual game plan here. Parry heavy to 9 light, and then evade counter, and then very slowly build light energy as we are building to SP2, since Sorcerer Supreme has her own passive power gain. Really, it's just going to be a lot of special attacks that we dodge here, building light energy at the same time. And then eventually when we get to SP2, we're dropping it and letting her melt. And of course, with suicides and the special attacks, this is going to go by a lot faster, but I'm still restricting this fight to 2 evade counters instead of any more than that. So there's our last one into SP2 after some basic hits, and if fight was pretty much over before getting there. I believe I took most of this unboosted. Yeah. Here, I mean, there are plenty of counters to Storm here, especially now that high ground is gone. I actually would have liked to have used War Machine here with high ground because of this energy resistance pre-fight that he gets for his armor rating. Puts his energy resistance at 3,660, which is his armor rating. So it would have reduced high ground damage significantly. But on top of that, since he has one buff and she has one buff, we are at equal when it comes to the rich get richer. And then when we dex, we are actually benefiting from the node. So if you're not familiar with Weapon X, if the fight lasts long enough, usually you build to SP2. I like to heavy as soon as possible to refresh that armor up and to get that heavy timer reset going, or cooldown timer going. And then from here, it's just spamming SB1s and letting her melt from the rupture and the fact that she's armor broken, so her basic attacks are doing significant damage. And then we're keeping an eye on that heavy cooldown so that we don't lose this armor up debuff through the fight. But as you see, there were plenty of opportunities where I didn't have to take or do a lot of hits to get to the next SB1 because of rich gets richer. So it was fun. The other reason I brought him was actually for this bishop here as well. And again, same game plan, but I do boost here because it is safeguard and I want those ruptures to do a bit more damage. Obviously, I'm not max boosted. It's not in season. But here, pretty much same game plan that I had with Storm earlier. And shout out to Campo for his War Machine gameplay, because that idea actually comes from him in his rank 3 War Machine. But basically here we're going to, with both pre-fights, and you're going to want the energy resistance one in case he happens to throw SB1 or you get hit with SB2, and it reduces the incinerate damage significantly. But you're going to want to push him to SP1, and then when he's at about SP1, start turtling so that you can bait out heavies instead of him throwing SP1, and then push him to SP2. When you get to your SP2, drop it. Same thing, like I said, I like to heavy early, but I do forget here in the moment of trying to push him to SP2 to already heavy. Not a big deal. Honestly, the armor up debuff, or the armor break debuff, lasts longer than the cooldown. So there will be more than enough time to eventually parry heavy, and you see I eat that there, but it's only doing 16 damage for incinerate, so pretty insane. And then I miss a block there, but we're really just, again, letting these ruptures that are going to place 100% chance because of the armor break debuff do their work against safeguard. So, and the other bonus outside of the fact that he's got suicides and he's losing prowess is that those suppression debuffs actually cause him to lose prowess, so he's a pretty good counter for Bishop there. And then here is where I took 2 fights I didn't plan on taking. I actually practiced a Shang-Chi against Penni and realized that there is somewhat of a rotation you can use to take her down in a scenario where, in a scenario where you don't have to use more than 2 wushu. So my game plan and what I've tested here or in practice was to activate the unblockable wushu through her block, and then get her to turtle again, and then use the stun wushu while you're unblockable, and then heavy reset while she is stunned. So you see there, I got unblockable, we stunned her, we reset. And then I'm going to continue doing that. Now that she's at SP1, I'm going to bait it, but I'm only going to hit her once in case she auto blocks, but also to get rid of brute force. And then I'm going to get her to block and then do the unblockable, then do the stun, which you see here, then heavy reset. So it was just a rinse and repeat of that. You're going to see here this fight, because she has suicides, doesn't last very long. Plus she had already had an attempt on her. But here I forget coming up, and even with heavy attacks, 1 hit, back off. Here I forget to do, I actually almost went stun, and that was not a good idea. So I had to correct myself, and I took more brute force damage than I should have. And then she's going to knock herself out here with this SP2 and recoil. But yeah, I think what deterred me from using Shang-Chi against her before was that I took her on Footloose, and there was just too much between slow, unblockable, and then resetting to manage with kinetic transference. So there it actually works out that I never have to do a well-timed block to reset, and I don't need a White Magneto pre-fight. As long as I can hit into her block and get that unblockable and then switch over to the stun. One thing to keep in mind when a champion auto blocks, you can't continue the Shang-Chi Wushu combo for it to work. It has to be either a full combo of contact or a full combo of into block. But yeah, so this fight has started. Mangog here was just going to play him. I medium boosted, was just going to play him the same way I have in as against Mojo in the past, where I build light energy just shy of 10, convert it with SP1 like I did just here, and then build to SP2 and drop that SP2. I am going to be turtling a significant amount. In the beginning, it doesn't look like I do, mainly because I wasn't sure what I wanted him to do, but he wasn't throwing SP1. And then I realized, hey, let's just keep him from throwing SP1 as much as we can so that he doesn't get enraged. So we actually push him on purpose, especially near the end, to SP2, and we just block those. And then I'm being very mindful of the armor up timer so that I don't go in to retaliate a special attack, a heavy attack, or I don't throw my special attack when the armor up's about to play. So you see there, I stopped my combo, the armor up was coming, there was no unstoppable, so I went back at the fight. You'll see sometimes that I don't back out, I just go straight to block and try to bait a heavy, or if he's going to throw a heavy and it's about to proc, I just back up and then block again. It's because I don't want him obviously throwing SB1, so I'd rather take the blocked hits and then push him to SB2. So we've done one SB2. It's done a considerable amount of damage considering we're not max boosted. The second R2 or second SB2 is going to come up here as soon as we get this SB2 out. And I'm actually, during this fight, not trying to convert dexterity debuff or buffs into light energy. As far as timing and spacing and everything, that's going to cause a situation where I end up backing up too much. And I figured since I'm pushing him to SB2, I might as well give him the MD benefit. And, you know, during SB2, when I'm baiting it, I'm not letting him. And here's the second SB2 now doing its damage. So he's near death, max boosted. He probably would have been knocked out by now. But we are going to build to another SB2. And my only mistake, in my opinion, for this fight is coming up here. This last SB2 that I decide to throw, I'm not paying attention to the timer. I just drop it because I know it'll end the fight. And an armor up actually procs during the SB2, which would be a big no-no against this global. I just got lucky, and there it is, that it did not trigger an unstoppable, and down he went. So, surprise Mangog fight. It didn't have suicide, so it was a true attempt. So I was pretty proud of that. Obviously, Spider-Man 2099 not banned. Go ahead and use him, but Mr. Negative's still an option. So that's the end of that off-season war. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will catch you guys at the next video, which will be the start of Season 32.